I am going to make a somewhat embarrassing confession here. As many know, I'm reading through the standard works of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in chronological order. And one thing that was probably the most difficult to lay out in chronological order were the Psalms, because most of them we have no clue when they were written. Many we know who wrote them, and so we have some idea, but even some of the authors we don't know exactly when they were alive. So that took me a long time to line all that up into a way that I felt comfortable with. But recently, a few of the viewers here had asked for an actual list, a chronological list of the scriptures. And I didn't really have one. I was just taking notes as I went along. So I'm working on an actual scripture chronology that I can share, that people can look at. And while I was going through it, I made an embarrassing discovery in that I forgot to read 2 of the Psalms. I only read 148. I missed 137 and 147. Those 2 I missed. And the reason I missed them, I do have somewhat of a justification for it. See, all the Psalms are written during the time of David, primarily. There's some written before David in the time of the Judges, and some written after David in the time of Solomon. But David himself wrote about half of them. And then another 25, 30 are written by the Levite singers who lived in the days of David. So they were all there. And I got through all of them because they were all right there. I could put them all together except these 2. 137 and 147 are written during the return from the Babylonian captivity. So while all the rest I read sometime between the book of Judges and 1 Kings, these last 2 should have been read, one during the book of Ezra, during the first return, and the second during the book of Nehemiah. But by the time I got to that point in the history, I had gone through all the prophets and all that stuff, and most of the Old Testament, and a good portion of the Book of Mormon. And it just kind of left my mind. I totally forgot about these 2. And I probably would never have remembered them if I hadn't been trying to get this chronological list done. So I thank those who asked me to do it, because it pointed out that this little small error. So I'm going to do those 2 Psalms immediately, probably have them released tomorrow, and then return to the Doctrine and Covenants. The next section for the Doctrine and Covenants is section 132. That is going to be read in 2 or 3 videos, probably 2, but possibly 3. We will see how that goes. However, I will probably do a historical update supplement video before I read it. After that, the next one will be the eulogy of Joseph Smith, which is section 135. And so I will do a video about the death, the martyrdom of Joseph and Hyrum before I read that. And that is the first section that was not written by Joseph Smith. Well, section 134 was not exactly written by Joseph Smith, but it was approved by him. Section 135 is written by John Taylor after Joseph Smith's death, so Joseph Smith had no part in its production. Then we go to section 136, which is written by Brigham Young for the westward expansion. And then 138 is Joseph. Well, after section 136, we have official declaration 1 with the ending of plural marriage. Then we have section 138, which is the vision of the last of the spirit world received by Joseph F. Smith. I think I keep getting confused. Joseph F. Smith and Joseph Fielding Smith confused me. And then after that, we have the official declaration 2, ending the priesthood restrictions. Before each of these, I will probably do a brief historical review or overview of what's going on. So, section 132 is in 1843. About a year later is the death of Joseph Smith, and we get section 135. We'll have a little bit about that there. It is about, I think it's 2 or 3 years after that we get section 137 and the westward migration under Brigham Young. We'll talk a little bit about the being expelled from Nauvoo before reading that. After that is the ending of plural marriage. I'm not going to do an entire historical overview, because that goes from 1846 or 47 to 1890. We're talking 45 years. I'm not going to try and cover everything that happens, but I will do somewhat of a brief historical overview, primarily focusing on plural marriage and how it was practiced and how it progressed and everything leading up to Wilford Woodruff ending the practice. Then we have Section 138, which is in 1918. That is almost 30 years after Official Declaration 1. We'll have to do a little bit of a brief overview of those 30 years. Then after that, we have our final Official Declaration 2, which is in 1978, so 60 years later, which again, I will primarily focus on the priesthood restrictions that existed and how that progressed over the years. So that is what's going on. I'm pretty sure I will have all of this completed by the end of August. I know I said by the end of June, then by July, now I'm saying by August, and it's keeping the historical context. Making those extra videos for the historical context is what's taking the longest time. But I want to keep doing it. I think it's important that we understand this is the historical context. That's what I'm doing. I also do have two other, I kind of dropped off doing my Zion's Camp videos. I had 2 of them done. And there are 2 more that I need to do, which I will probably have to wait until after I'm done with all the reading. And then I will go back in and finish that series. I do apologize that took so long. Anyways, that is the plans moving forward. And so look for my missing Psalms in the next, 24 hours. And then moving back into the Doctrine and Covenants, hopefully finishing it out. In order to finish by August, I've got 2 weeks to finish it. But yeah, 6 sections to read. I mean, they'll probably, each one will have its own supplemental video, and section 132 will be read in at least 2 videos. So we're talking about 15 videos total, done in about 14 days, and maybe I won't get it done by the end of August. So I will see you in the next video. I'll see you in the Psalms, and we'll see you back in the Doctrine and Covenants.